All right. Product Innovation Show is back with your guest host, Sergey Ross. And today I have another great founder, co-founder with me, Dan Toma, who's an author of Innovation Accounting and Corporate Startup book. He comes from entrepreneurial background, has been involved with tech startups across the world, and he's an innovation community leader in Europe, and right now is a co-founder of the management consulting company called The Outcome. Dan, well, thank you for coming. How are you?
Thank you very much for having me. Pretty good. Considering the craziness of the schedule these days, pretty good, I'd say.
Well, we were just talking about Google Chrome crashing and like all the hoops that you need to actually jump through to actually get here in the first place.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Google Chrome, actually, for data privacy reasons, and this is why I've always been on Firefox, and apparently not all new tech is supported by Firefox, or Firefox doesn't support all new tech.
I love Firefox. The only browser that I use more than Firefox is Brave.
I have no clue what that is. I haven't heard of it.
It's kind of a more of a niche browser for folks who love crypto, and it has like a built-in ad blocker. Really slick. You should check it out. It's really good.
Well, guess what's on my to-do list for tonight.
Well, there we go. Well, Dan, let's start with your book, Innovation Accounting. What is it about?
Well, it's a book I always...
The whole kind of premise.
Sure. For the folks that are in product, I think this is going to resonate with you. Imagine you have an idea for a new product, and you jump through all the hoops to secure backing, either from a VC, or if you're doing this within a large organization, from your boss, your boss's boss, your boss's boss's boss, right? You were able to secure that backing. And again, there are different means through which you can do that. Not going to go into the details of that. But essentially, at one point, and usually pretty early on, you're going to have a stakeholder come in and ask you, hey, show me your progress, right? Show me the fact that you are on the right track to make this $1 billion idea, or even more than that. The problem is that there are very little indicators you can use to tell that great story about you as an entrepreneur, or your product being on the right track. And essentially, innovation accounting is helping people like you to tell that story in the absence of financial indicators or financial results. It's painting a picture of you being on track to becoming a successful business later on, providing that you get further investment and providing that everything goes well. But essentially is how do we measure stuff when we don't have, financial performance data to measure stuff with?
Not yet. And this isn't in the corporate world, right? Like it's more corporate than startups, or both.
It works both ways. It can work for startups within a VC portfolio or within an accelerator program, as much as it does with product teams within an existing organization.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about what we talked about the last time. People forget to look at innovation strategy of the company before kicking off their initiative. And this was more our corporate discussion, which you have a lot of stories to share about. So what's going on? Like you are a product manager, product director at a corporate company, large organization. And what tends to happen most of the time? What have you seen happening a lot?
Right. This also happened to me. This is not a story. This is not folklore or anything like that. This actually also happened to me.
First person.
Exactly. First-hand account. Essentially, it's very important to align every product with the corporate strategy, because in case these products or that particular product is not aligned, this is going to serve as a very good reason for people to discontinue that product. And the only reason they will have to give is not aligned with strategy. They don't even have to bother to discuss with you about performance, financial indicators, user attrition. If you have a software as a service business, they're going to say, hey, not aligned with strategy. And nobody can argue with that statement if nobody has seen the strategy.
That's why they cleverly worded.
Exactly.
That's
And
they say it in a clever way.
I was one of those product people that had their product deprioritized by the use of this, let's say, magical spell, not aligned with strategy.
Dan, why don't you tell us like what happened? What was the story? What was the thing that led you to?
Sure, we were building a news aggregator platform, if you want. I'm not going to disclose the name of my employer. It was back in the day when I was employed, but. My LinkedIn profile is available, so people can figure it out.
You guys can check it out. We'll have it in the show notes.
Exactly. I'm not going to disclose anything, but hey, by the way, information is free. So I was a product owner. They put me in charge of this product. Obviously, mandate was to improve the product. It was one of those zombie products that you have in a corporate setting. So they've launched it. It was not growing, but there wasn't enough reason to kill it. So they gave it to the new guy to figure it out. Maybe he's going to make it into a unicorn. That was number one target I had set for my job. But the number two target was very interesting, was to pilot a new governance system for digital products. Pilot a new way of working, pilot a new process, pilot a new structure for the teams. So again, twofold approach there. So we were working on this product for a little over 8 months, and then at one point, the whole organization went through a leadership change. There was a new CEO appointed. Unfortunately enough, the guy used to have the role of the CFO in the previous administration, and
good sign.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't need to spell it, but you know what it means, right? It's a person that's managing everything with an Excel, right? So obviously, being in the innovation department, we had a big bullseye on our backs, and at one point, they were looking at shutting down initiatives, and since we were asking for a new financing round, obviously the spotlight was on us. And the reason that was given to not only stop financing but actually kill the product altogether was not aligned with strategy. In their defense, I have to give them credit. The company actually went through a strategy change, but nobody bothered to show the product teams or the innovation department the new strategy, so we can start aligning our products, or at least see if there were initiatives that could be pivoted to the new strategy. Actually, my initiative, the ones I was in charge of for, was actually very capable of making the new strategy leap, if you want, because the new strategy was revolving around the use of video and encouraging people to use more video content. Well, it's very easy if you're a news aggregator to only throw out news video content rather than text. So we could have made the pivot, but again, nobody bothered showing us the strategy. And again, I've seen this now as a consultant. I'm seeing this as a recurrent topic with many organizations that we work with. They start this accelerator programs. They accelerate a lot of ideas in the innovation lab, but then the people that are leading the innovation lab forget to align with the core business, with the business units in general, on their growth strategy, on their respective innovation strategies. So what ends up happening is that at the end of a 3 months program, 6 months program, the accelerator lead is in charge of 20 orphans. Those 20 orphans are essentially the ideas that will try to find a home somewhere, and nobody wants them, not because they are bad or anything. It's just that they weren't necessarily aligned with the strategy to begin with. Nobody knew about their existence. Nobody predicted that at one point they will require another financing round that the lab can no longer support. So again, it's very important to have that common strategy and communicate it, disseminate it to every unit, and communicate it very good or in a proper way to the lab.
with your example, Dan, what happened if we were to look at that example? Was there a challenge of, hey, we didn't really align with the strategy before the management changed, even before the CEO arrived, which was kind of added on top of the problem. But once we started that initiative that you ended up inheriting, we didn't really get alignment. It was already sidetracked. And then the CFO/CEO came in, and it literally just blew up.
To be honest with you, I didn't bother asking, is this initiative aligned with strategy when I took it over. Starting from the assumption, now looking back, was a big assumption that, hey, since it's already here, since it exists, since it's already built, there probably was some strategic, let's say, justification for its existence 6 months, a year prior to me even joining the company when they kicked it off. So I thought that this is a given.
Right. And what do you do? Let's say product owner joins a corporate organization, joins this innovation department. What do they need to do to make sure that they don't end up with an orphan that then gets killed and then they have to find another company?
Yeah, sure.
Or move on to a different product, which is probably not as good as well.
Yeah, no, it's still going to leave a bitter taste in your mouth by all means. I would definitely encourage you to look at sponsorship. Do you have enough sponsorship? Do you have enough backing for that particular initiative in your current organizational setup? And look at the strategy and look at what are the strategic shifts the company is on for the foreseeable future, and see that. See if in the light of the new strategy that product still makes sense. Let's say you are now working at an automotive company and you're put in charge of a diesel engine. Does it, right?
You're at VW.
Yeah, no. If it's a Volkswagen, it's good. You have a job to do there. But let's assume you don't work for Volkswagen. Let's assume you work for Ford or for Toyota or for any other company for that matter. If you're in charge of a diesel engine or an automobile that has a combustion only engine or power plant. Look at what's the strategy of the company. When do they want to phase out combustion engines? Does it still make if your development roadmap for that particular product extends beyond the date when the company says they want to phase out, combustion engines? I mean, take the job, but don't have high hopes that in 1 year you're still going to be doing the same thing. Be ready for change. Be ready for disruption. Right,
you're probably going to be developing an electric skateboard in no time.
Exactly. You're going to be repurposed together with your team. Like, hey guys, go do electric helicopters or whatever.
Right, and so is it a matter, Dan? Is it a matter to align with VP of corporate strategy, or I'm making up the title. I'm not sure who that is, or who would that be? Is it a matter of aligning with them and then communicating to them your concerns as soon as and regularly?
To be honest with you, I would say yes, but in real life, would a VP of corporate strategy have time to speak with a product owner? I haven't seen that happening, at least in the organizations that I was involved with. I think it's actually a matter of corporate culture, and it's a matter of governance within that particular organization to have the strategy as transparent as possible, to have the strategy very well communicated and disseminated throughout the organization, left to right, top to bottom. Don't have it, hidden in a drawer of an executive. Have it on the homepage of your intranet. Have it accessible to people that want to submit new ideas. I've actually worked recently with a Norwegian company. I'm not going to disclose their name. They had a very cool approach to this. They had in the intranets. They had a landing page in the intranet where people can submit ideas. A very simple form, and at the bottom they had the innovation strategy as a PowerPoint presentation. You can download it, read it, and then you see in the innovation strategy if the thing that you just wanted to submit makes sense to submit or not. So you're going to kill your own idea before others get the chance to do it. So again, I don't think it's a matter of you finding a slot in the chief strategy officer's diary and book a call with him or whatever. As much as it is for the organization to make sure that the strategy is transparent and not just transparent, but actually very well communicated in a language that is understood by everybody within the organization, not just the people that formulated it, but by people in marketing, people in sales, people in product.
Anything else, Dan, you think is important for product owners to keep in mind to get that initial alignment? Like anything they should consider tactically, strategically, to make sure that they don't miss the bus?
No, I think strategy and sponsorship are very important to understand if your product is aligned with strategy, and to understand if you have the right level of sponsorship and enough sponsorship to have your idea, at least to get enough space to start making some progress, and then let results speak for you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. That makes sense. What is there anything else you think that product owners need to do to be successful, to be more successful in shipping products in a corporate org? Like, what should they think about doing that they may not be doing now? That was one of the big things. Alignment. Anything else they should be considering?
Stakeholder management is very important. If you are a product owner within a large organization relative to a startup entrepreneur, stakeholder management is very important. As a startup entrepreneur, your primary stakeholder is your investment committee, or your one investor or your group of investors. Plus, maybe you might have other stakeholders, let's say the government, or depending on the nature of your idea. Whether within the large organization or larger organizations, you also need to consider stakeholder alignment within the company. Try to understand who are your supporters, who are your detractors. How much interest they have in your project, how much hierarchical power they have to influence people, what is their opinion with respect to your initiative. Are they a supporter? Are they a detractor? Are they neutral towards it? They don't have any feelings. And depending on this stakeholder map, you can take certain actions with respect to those individuals. How you speak with them, how frequently you speak with them, what kind of information you disclose, what kind of information you're holding back, for the lack of better words. Essentially, this is going to take some time of your day on top of trying to build a great product.
Well, you become a little bit of a politician, so
to some extent. To some extent, and I've been terrible at this in my role, and I learned it the hard way.
Well, it's quite hard. I was going to ask you, Dan, innovation accounting. Basically, you talk about how do you measure innovation. How do you actually do that? What do you need to look at? Because we had all this innovation. We have a lot of innovation leaders on this show. And there's always this, well, how do you actually measure? Especially when the CFO guy comes in and he's like, oh, there's actually nothing to show. What do you need to understand and to look at to say, hey, you know what? We are working on the diesel engine, but we will be able to still fit it into the electric skateboard 10 years from now.
Right. There's a couple of things that folks need to understand before they even embark on the journey of measuring innovation. First of all, they need to understand that metrics need to evolve with the maturity of the idea. The thing that you are going to be measured against when you're launching your product today are different than the things you are going to, or you should be measured against 3 months from now or 3 years from now. So essentially, metrics evolve with the maturity. It's exactly like sports, if you want, right? If you're a kid and you're like swimming or running, right? The times that you have to compete against, exactly, different expectations, right? At the time that you ask an 11-year-old to beat as an 11-year-old swimmer are different from an Olympic athlete. If we were to measure the performance of 11-year-olds against the latest times at the Olympics, we will be immensely disappointed by their performance. However, we do this in the corporate world. We do this. We take the Olympic athletes, which are the core business, right? And we know the customer acquisition cost there, the profitability, and all of that. So we have very high expectations. They're Olympic athletes that they've been practicing that sport for 100 years, in some cases.
There's a term for that, right? Isn't there a term for that? Then somebody from HBR, Harvard Business School, came up with this term. I forget. Was it like a? There is a term for that where you actually invest only. You don't invest in innovation. You only invest in the product that's already established. But then you do this unfair comparison.
I'm glad that somebody came up with the term. If you remember it, by all means share it with me. I'll be more likely to use. I'll be very likely to use it in my next keynote.
Because it just skews the whole judgment, right? Like massively.
Exactly.
But anyways, yes.
Exactly. So that's one of the first things you need to understand. The difference, the fact that metrics need to evolve with time. The other thing is that you need to look at both process metrics and result metrics. One impacts the other. However, we have a tendency to call everything a key performance indicator, and in some cases, they are only key result indicators. Give you an example, to make the conversation a bit more tangible for folks. Revenue is a key result indicator. You cannot influence revenue. You can influence revenue by influencing the process you are using to reach revenue. I don't know, selling cupcakes, right? I have a bakery. I want to improve my revenue. Well, in order to improve my revenue, I have to find a way to produce more cupcakes or sell them at a better margin or whatever. So that means that I need to probably measure number of cupcakes that I produce every day or number of cupcakes I sell every day. But the fact that exactly, but the fact that I'm selling $10,000 worth of cupcakes every day, that's a result indicator, and I can't influence that without influence the process that gets me to that result. And I think a lot of time folks are just focused on result indicators. And seriously, if we were to bring everything to one common denominator, and that being revenue, I always encourage folks to, especially in corporate, by all means, please sell the building. Sell the headquarters, and you are going to make next year's target, no question. I mean, you're in Toronto, like right. sell the corporate bank in the city center. If you're listening to this in New York, exactly. If you have your headquarters downtown Manhattan, please sell it. There's not going to be any doubt that you're not going to make the target. But is this sustainable, right?
Way to do it.
But that's not sustainable, right? That's not going to create any value next year, because next year you're going to run out of things to sell. Like you're going to sell the desks now and the cars, and at one point you're going to sell the building. But 3 years from now, you're going to be out of things to sell.
Well, depends who's optimizing for what. Like some folks are exiting. Right?
Totally.
But yes, obviously you're not going to do that.
I've seen CEOs like temporary position CEOs in some banks in Europe doing that. And they got their bonuses at the end of the year. However, 3 years from the moment they left the bank was in ruin. No more headquarters.
Yeah, well, that's just crazy that they allow, the board allows them to do that.
But the stories exist, man. The stories exist. They're real.
Oh, Dan, what about this? So have you seen example, maybe you worked with corporate folks where you are starting a product in an innovation department where you actually don't have an existing process. Like, and then what do you look at if it's like very different and you don't really quite have the process? Do you build it on complete hypotheses? This is what we think. This is our best guess based on XYZ. We're going to test it, and then we're going to give you metrics based on that process in months, 2 months, 3 months, or how would you kind of approach that?
Yeah, if the process doesn't exist, you are in a very fortunate position because essentially, first of all, nobody is going to hold you accountable for not following the process. Because there is no process to be followed, which is great. On the other hand, you have a great opportunity to create a new process based on the things that you as a product owner are learning together with your product team. Use common sense, I would say. And if you don't want to use common sense, it's 2021, and there's enough books that have been written over at least the past 10 years around optimizing or creating processes for product development, for innovation in particular. Look at case examples. Look at how other companies that are successful are doing it. So you're not actually starting from a blank canvas. You're starting from a blank canvas from the perspective of your organization, but look outside the building. Look outside the window.
Somebody already did it.
Most likely. And again, have a conversation with those folks, read the books, read the blogs, attend the conferences, and do it better.
Dan, where is everybody could find the book? Where is everybody could get your book? Any sort of, like, where do you sell it?
The first book, the Corporate Startup, is available on Amazon. Amazon Canada, Amazon US, Europe definitely has it. With the second book, Innovation Accounting, it's a bit trickier because of the shortage now in paper and the supply chain issues. We were told by our publisher that it's going to be widely available in North America starting March. But if you die and you want to see it now, Kindle is an option, right? Always go to our publisher's website, or ship it from one of the Amazon locations in Europe. Spain has it, UK has it. But for more information, just go to innovationaccountingbook.com, and you're going to find there all the links. And in case you don't find the book anywhere near you, just drop us a line, and we'll find a way to ship you a copy.
Yeah, we'll have a link to Dan. We'll have a link to your LinkedIn, and if you guys really need to measure something fast, then you can just send a message to Dan. Dan, any final parting thoughts to the audience, just from the conversation we've had, or anything else that you wanted to share?
I think it's very important for everybody to be, especially in product development, to be very pragmatic. Put romanticism aside. Stop being romantic about innovation. Stop being romantic about product development. Be pragmatic. Ask yourself, is this activity that I'm about to start performing today or this week, is this going to move the needle for this product? What are my metrics for success? Are the things that I have in my backlog going to move the needle on those metrics for success, or the ones that I'm following at this moment in the life cycle of my idea? And then if you're listening to this podcast and you're in the innovation department, ask yourself, are the initiatives that we have in the pipeline now going to have an impact on the organization, obviously in a positive way, but also on the client? So stop looking at engagement metrics like employee engagement. Yes, we threw a very cool innovation hackathon last week, and everybody loved our gummy bears and the free beer. Be very pragmatic. Because if you are not going to be pragmatic, somebody in the organization at one point is going to want to be pragmatic about your product, and it's going to come as a surprise to you.
Going to come to you misaligned with a strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't be surprised if the title of the email says misalignment with strategy.
You guys knew where it came from because you've listened to this podcast.
Exactly. You've been warned. There are no more excuses after this podcast. There's no more excuses.
No more excuses. We gotta put like a nice title into it, saying, "Hey, like, this is it. You guys heard it. If not the first, but definitely." Our final warning. Exactly, 100%. Dan, pleasure to have you. Thank you for coming. Great conversation. Thank you guys for listening. You can get all the links in the show notes. This episode will be available in a couple of days, and we'll talk product again soon.